Deadpool. Forget what you saw in the movies. The truth about Deadpool is that he is a depressed man, masked as a funny guy. A man obsessed with death. A bad man, and not in the way that bad means good or cool, nah. Deadpool is...
That's the bad guy.
That being said, this depressed bad guy's life is equally as epic as it is tragic and shocking. For example, did you know that Deadpool once fought Thanos because Thanos was jealous of him? Epic. Did you know that Deadpool's father abused him when he was young? Tragic. And did you know that his mother beat young Deadpool up as a child, so eventually teenage Deadpool beat up his mother? And then, after a failed suicide attempt, teenage orphan Deadpool was rescued and taken in by a couple who nurtured him back to health, and as thanks, Deadpool killed the couple and stole the husband's identity. Yeah, that would be the shocking part. And also, that is actually how Deadpool got the name Wade Wilson. It was said that husband stole an identity. What name Deadpool was born under, I'm not even sure he knows the answer to that, and the rest of us certainly don't. In fact, we know shockingly little about a man so famous he's about to get a third movie. The only bits and pieces we do know about Deadpool's past are what he himself told us, and what he told us is that his father abandoned his mother while she was pregnant, and then his mother let her anger out on him and beat him. So when young Deadpool finally became stronger than her, he was like,
okay, well, sorry, I'm just gonna go murder Mom. I'll be right back.
So he whooped his mom to let his anger out on her. That, or his mother died when he was 5 and Papa Deadpool beat and abused his son out of sorrow and frustration. So to defy his army officer dad, teenage Deadpool then became a thug, and one day one of his thug friends shot his father. That, or his parents are still happily married and live in Canada. Deadpool himself isn't really sure about his origin, so pick your origin story. In any case, either one of those is Deadpool's past, according to Deadpool. What we know more reliably is what happened after he left home. Long before he became known as Deadpool, Wade Wilson joined the U.S. Army Special Forces at age 17, and he was a natural, just a straight-up killer. Marksmanship, hand-to-hand combat, speaking several languages, you name it, and Wade Wilson excelled at it. So of course, before long, he got dishonorably discharged. Which means now we have an almost 19-year-old who either beat up his abusive mom and or watched his friend shoot his abusive dad and just got kicked out of the one thing that seemed to give him purpose in life, aka this situation is
rock, meat, bottom.
And so Wade Wilson tried to end his life. But it turns out he couldn't even do that properly. So after he failed at killing himself, he decided to go back to killing other people because he was pretty damn good at that. So Wade joined a CIA-sponsored assassin group, and as tends to be the case with CIA-sponsored assassin groups, nothing is known about his time there except that he racked up quite the body count. A body count that was very bloody. And by that, I don't mean that he slept with a lot of girls on their period. I mean the type of bloody body count where people are killed, that Wade Wilson killed a lot of people. And once his time for the CIA assassins was up, he eventually found his way to Japan, where he was hired by a Japanese underworld boss to assassin an underworld boss rival. The boss who hired Deadpool was literally just called the boss, and the targeted rival boss went by Oyakata, a man who ran a sumo wrestling ring. So Wade Wilson infiltrated the sumo wrestling ring by becoming a sumo wrestler for 3 years, all to get closer to his target, all to get closer to Oyakata. Problem was, Wade got so close to Oyakata that he fell in love with Oyakata's daughter, and with his heart entirely compromised, Wade Wilson could no longer go through with his mission, which meant that he failed to assassinate a target for the first time in his young but bloody career. The heartless killer had a heart after all. But there's not really a great comeback in a relationship after you tell your girl you only got closer to kill her father. And there's a comeback for that. We're talking about a girl with next level daddy issues, which is not a good thing. Or is it? So Wade Wilson left Japan behind and returned to the United States, where now grown man Wade decided that the best medicine to get over a Japanese heartbreak is to fall in love with a teenage prostitute. It's not actually the best medicine. That teenage prostitute was Vanessa Carlyle, and Wade loved her so much that he quit his bloody mercenary ways because death and murder no longer had a place in this heart of his, so thoroughly and entirely Of course not. Love? Nah.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Wade kept on killing people, so next Wade Wilson was hired to go to the Middle East to assassinate a British operative named Althea, an old, blind woman of some importance, but Wade decided that somehow old blind women is where he draws the line, and so after he killed his way to the target, he couldn't get himself to pull the trigger on the blind lady who wouldn't even see the bullet coming anyway. And note that this is now the second time Wade defied official orders, and you know how it goes.
Fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
So the people that hired Wade Wilson had to send a message, and everybody knows messages are best received when they come in the form of assassinating your teenage prostitute girlfriend. Well, luckily for Wade and for Vanessa, it turns out that all this time Wade Wilson actually had a stalker, Zoe Culloden, a woman that works for an interdimensional firm and was convinced Wade Wilson will in the future have a part to play in some world-changing interdimensional cerebral something messiah something thing. It's weird, it's complicated and not that important. The only important part is that Wade was on Zoe's interdimensional radar. She kept him and Vanessa under tight surveillance, and so Zoe couldn't idly stand by when someone came to kill Wade's innocent girlfriend. Zoe saved Vanessa from the assassination attempt, and now, finally, Wade was free from his military past, free from the people who wanted him dead, free to maybe start a happy family with the love of his life, free to pursue happiness. But
Here's the thing. Life is an endless series of train wrecks with only brief commercial-like breaks of happiness. This had been the ultimate commercial break, which meant it was time to return to our regularly scheduled program.
so then Wade got cancer, 34 incurable tumors to be exact, and Wade saw the movie 50-50 with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he didn't want his teenage girlfriend to waste her remaining teenage years on a grown dying man, so he broke up with her, and then he decided to break up with life. Wade was determined to die as soon as possible and decided not to do chemo but to just let it end. Enter a superhuman enhancement program called Weapon X, and they were all like,
What if I told you we can cure your cancer? And what's more, give you abilities most men only dream of.
I'd say that you sound like an infomercial, but not a good one, like Slap Chop, more shake-weighty.
to be exact, they offered him a spot in a program that turns capable but damaged soldiers into superhuman capable but damaged soldiers. In Wade's case, that meant he first had to be saved from certain cancer death, and this is when he was introduced to a certain somebody that you might know as yeah, I feel bad for hyping you with that intro because you're thinking, shit, come on. Nah, Wolverine will not really feature in this video. He's just an unfriendly donor, really. If you want a Wolverine video though, let me know in the comments. For now, all you need to know is that Wolverine is a mutant and he was born with a natural healing factor, which just means that any wound he has it heals. Any organ or body part that is damaged or lost, it heals or just flat out regrows. That made Wolverine the perfect subject to experiment on, which Weapon X did. And they did it so well that they found a way to extract his healing factor and implement it into others. Enter the super skilled, ruthless, damaged soldier without much of a conscience. Enter Wade Wilson and his 34 incurable tumors. Weapon X implemented Wolverine's healing factor into Wade and his cancer immediately went into remission. Wade was cured and the perfect mercenary was born. Not that guy. As a member of Weapon X's task force, Wade went back to his killing ways and he was actually reunited with no longer teenage, no longer prostitute, and no longer girlfriend Vanessa Carlyle, who had since manifested mutant powers and now went by the name of Copcat. Because she can turn into exact copies of people. These superhero names are not exactly original. So a little bit of bloody mercenary action here, a little bit of bloody deadly mercenary action there, and slowly but surely, Wade was getting settled into the second lease on life of his. Except the healing factor then suddenly stopped working and his 34 tumors made a very cancerous comeback. Back to being a dying man, Wade was then immediately rejected from the Weapon X program and sent to a government facility that takes care of failed superhuman operatives, a facility called Hospice, ran by a doctor named Dr. Kilbrew. Yeah, Kilbrew, that's a dead giveaway that this isn't going to end well. What are these anyway? Unsurprisingly, Kilbrew was on some serious 50 Shades of Grey thing and let his sadistic tendencies out on his failed superhuman soldier patients with the full-hearted support of his equally sadistic assistant who went by the name...
Francis. Francis? That's his legal name. He got Ajax from a dish soap.
Ajax was the one in charge of Deadpool, and basically the gig was to torture patients while experimenting with their superpowers, not only to find results in a way to cure them of whatever ailment their superpowers might be causing, but more just for the pleasure of it. And because every satisfying activity is made a lot more satisfying with betting, this video is sponsored by Stake.com, where you can... I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But what a smooth plug this would be. Like, come on, man. Call me. Stake.com. I need the money. You got that betting? I need them. I need a sponsor, man. Because everything is made better with betting. They placed bets at the hospice on which patients would die first or live the longest. A betting pool that they called the Dead Pool. Foreshadowing. So this facility, the hospice, was life now, and Wade Wilson was there for so long that he even made a friend for once, a fellow torture victim that went by the name of Worm. And when Wade and Worm weren't suffering, they really hit it off, and their friendship made the whole existential hell a little bit more bearable. Still, being tortured on the daily, Wade was constantly at death's door. And I mean that literally. He was at death's door knocking. Wade actually met death, who actually turned out to be a woman, that is.
Fine, with a capital fine.
Well, fine in the eye of the beholder. So Wade and death got romantically involved whenever the pain put Wade near death, literally, and allowed Wade to transcend realms. And I mean, if on one end of the spectrum you have eternal torture and on another you have an immortal beauty waiting for you, whose name is Death, which probably means she has all kinds of dirty kinks up her sleeve. Like, I'm talking whips, and I'm talking chains, I'm talking no safe word needed, you know? So yeah, Wade wanted to be with Death, and he could not wait to just die and transcend realms for good, be with his girl. And that meant that now, the torture at the hands of Ajax, Wade Wilson didn't mind it much anymore. He actually kind of liked it. So Wade taunted the sadists, and he was all like...
See, here's the problem with round clock torture is that you can't really step it up from there.
And, well, it turns out that they could step it up from there. It turns out that a step up was to lobotomize Deadpool's only friend at the clinic, to lobotomize Worm. Now, I don't know if you ever had a lobotomized best friend, but it sucks. So Death told Wade that he should actually kill Worm now because, joining her in her realm is infinitely better than being lobotomized in every other realm. So Wade did release his friend Worm off his miserable lobotomized existence with a mercy kill, but oddly enough, one patient killing another patient was where the rules of the hospice drew the line. So as punishment for breaking those rules, this is what actually made Ajax finally kill Wade. And he killed him by tearing his heart out. And that was that for Wade Wilson. Except now Wade didn't want to die anymore. Now all he wanted was to avenge his friend, and his death, coupled with that thirst for vengeance, jump-started his healing factor back into action, and Wade regenerated his heart, came back to life, and quenched that thirst for vengeance by killing Ajax and escaping the clinic. Wade was free. But the problem was that the torture and the 34 tumors, they left scars, and the way his healing factor was jump-started back up, it just endlessly healed the actively growing tumors with only their deadliness suppressed by the healing factor, which meant it had left Wade looking like
an avocado. Had sex with an older, more disgusting avocado. Yeah. Not gently, like he was hate fucking. There was something wrong with the relationship, and that was the only catharsis that they could find without violence.
like cancer incarnated. In appearance, he was more dying than alive. The healing factor basically had saved this most disfigured cancerous state as the status quo. Wade was certified hideous, and so from now on, he hid his face behind a mask and adopted the name that was once meant to spell his end. Wade Wilson became Deadpool.
Captain Deadpool. No, just Deadpool, yeah.
From then on, Deadpool did the usual. He worked as an assassin for a bunch of supercriminals, including the Kingpin. He fought with Wolverine a bunch of times, actually, sometimes on the same side.
You look ridiculous.
And remember how he once drew the line at killing blind old women and he spared the life of blind Althea, aka Blind Al? Yeah, it turns out that kidnapping blind old women was less of an issue, so Deadpool kidnapped Blind Al to live with him and be his friend, except the old lady didn't want to be his friend, so she tried to escape, but Deadpool killed everyone that tried to help her escape, so she was like, okay, I guess I'll be your friend. And they've been living as roomies unhappily ever after. Yeah, you can tell that the whole endless torture experience at the hospice left Deadpool a little more unhinged and more on the villainous side of things, and Deadpool continued his villainous streak by working for yet another criminal, the Wizard. And along with the super assassin, mass murderer Taskmaster, and the Constructor, the Four formed a super villain group called the Frightful Four, which didn't last long, unsurprisingly, with that name. So after the failed boy band, Deadpool went back to being an evil solo gig. And as a solo mercenary, he was much more successful and eventually hired as a time-traveling assassin that uses a teleportation device to travel back in time to kill people and alter history, hired to do so by a rich man named Francis Talbot, who was all like,
Me, I want what's coming to me.
Oh, well, what's coming to you, Tommy?
The world, Chico. And everything in it.
and this Francis wanted to become the world leader by altering the past. But it turns out that for every badass time-traveling assassin, there's an equally as badass time-traveling hero. And that hero was Cable, who stopped Deadpool and killed his employer and restored history. So after his villain exploits literally ended in nothing but failure, Deadpool figured it was time to maybe switch sides. So he hung up his villain shoes, all epic like,
Say good night to the bad guy. Go on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you.
and he decided to fight for the good guys for a while, maybe, and maybe give the whole team-up thing another shot. So he left the dark side to join Heroes for Hire, a group of heroes that protect anyone that needs help. So as a newly minted hero and protector, Deadpool raw dogged the woman he was meant to protect and got her pregnant.
Because that's what heroes do.
To be exact, he raw dogged the daughter of the target he was meant to protect with his fellow heroes for hire, and that daughter was Carmelita Camacho, who actually never told Deadpool that she was pregnant with his child and decided to raise the kid, Eleanor Camacho, alone. Still, by all accounts and purposes, Deadpool was now a dad, which didn't turn out so well because his baby mama and daughter were then kidnapped and sent to a camp in North Korea. Yeah, let me explain. A guy named the Butler, a guy who had a sister who had incurable cancer. So understandably, he wanted to help and ideally heal his sister. And when he heard of a guy named Wade Wilson surviving 34 incurable tumors and becoming a not-so-super villain, sometimes not-so-superhero named Deadpool, the Butler was all like,
And what I want. I want you.
he wanted some of Deadpool's cells to help his sister. He wanted Deadpool's healing factor, and he actually got Deadpool to play along, got him to submit to having his blood extracted and cell work done to help cure the Butler's dying sister. In reality though, the Butler not only sedated Deadpool for his healing factor and experiments, he also brainwashed him with drugs and used his mercenary skill set for his own uses, which of course after a time even a man such as Deadpool eventually noticed all the extra blood on his hands, and he was pissed, understandably, and quit the program, abandoning the Butler and his sister. And so as payback, the Butler kidnapped Deadpool's baby mama and their daughter and sent them to a camp where he experiments on people in North Korea. Yeah, tough break. I don't know if this is a silver lining or not, but Deadpool did actually later find his baby mama and the daughter. He found out about the daughter in the first place, and he dealt with the Butler, but at this point, baby mama Carmelita was already dead, and Deadpool didn't want to approach his daughter because he thought that her life would be better off without him in it. Yeah, at second thought, definitely not a silver lining. So yes, all in all, Deadpool's life was on a downward trajectory. It wasn't getting any happier. He had no family, no true friends. He was only used for his powers or abilities, and all of his powers and abilities were about causing pain and death, and ironically, the latter was the only thing Deadpool really loved. Death. Deadpool still loved Lady Death. He still loved her, and he still wanted to be with her in her realm. Deadpool had had enough of this world, and he was just tired. So at this point, he only had one mission left: to find a way to escape his healing factor and die. Countless of suicidal deadly missions over the next year saw Deadpool trying his best to do so, and he seemingly got killed over and over in various battles, be it on this world or while time traveling with on and off teammate Cable, or even fighting against aliens. Deadpool died time and time again, but nothing ever kept him down for good. He was blown up over and over, but he kept healing back to life every single time. Nothing could kill him. The thing is though, all those times he got blown up, Deadpool's body parts were left behind, and it turns out that all this time, Deadpool had a serious stalker who was mad in love with him, Dr. Ella Whitby. So after Deadpool attempted to die yet again by blowing himself up with atomic bombs, he was institutionalized for the suicide attempt that admittedly was very dangerous for the general public. Atomic bombs and all that, yeah, no, I get it. And when he reassembled and healed from nuking himself, Deadpool found himself in a prison, the mental ward of a prison to be exact, in the care of Dr. Ella Whitby, who quickly revealed that she was mad obsessed with Deadpool, that she loved him, and so she helped him escape the prison. She helped him escape and took him all the way to her apartment, where Deadpool discovered that this crazy doctor, she kept many of his severed body parts in the fridge, body parts that she had collected over the years and performed God knows what perverted kinks with. So Deadpool was disgusted by this, and he confronted the doctor about her unhealthy obsession, like...
부원장님한테나 disgusting shit.
And so the doctor... she killed herself. Deadpool didn't care that much, though, so he just threw the body parts in the trash and left the apartment. But once the body parts thawed, they healed together and formed a new Deadpool, a more sadistic Deadpool, an even more ruthless Deadpool, a clone who we shall call Evil DP. Yeah, I'm really holding back on a DP joke here. Guys, I have no idea. Evil Deadpool was so evil that he was an absolute villain, like the killing children type of villain. But that's not even the worst thing he did. The worst thing Evil Deadpool did, he blew up OG Deadpool's favorite chimichanga joint. So now OG Deadpool was like, Evil Deadpool had to die, and he and OG Deadpool clashed over and over, but since neither of them could die, their battles were so endless, vicious, so explosive, with such insane collateral damage that soon enough Interpol and Captain America himself were trying to hunt them down and stop them. And eventually they did. They caught the two Deadpools mid-battle, and Evil Deadpool, of course, immediately opened fire on them, and so the cops shot him down in a hail of bullets, which downed Evil Deadpool on the spot. And usually, that's not a big deal. Usually that's something any Deadpool recovers from with ease, but this time, there was a mysterious dart amongst those bullets, a dart whose contents somehow turned that Evil Deadpool back into a regular human being. He didn't heal. The healing factor stopped working, and Evil Deadpool really did die. So OG Deadpool, he was like,
I feel good, like I know it would. I feel good.
man, he was beyond happy. Finally, a way to die. Man, he stole that dart and got the hell up out of there. Like, Deadpool obsessively researched that dart, the serum used in that dart, the serum used to neutralize the healing factor, the serum that would finally allow him to die and be with his beloved Death. And of course, with unlimited lives and unlimited ruthlessness and his experience, Deadpool eventually found the serum and injected himself with it, and it worked. His healing factor was gone. Deadpool returned to normal. The cancer was killing him, yes, but the superpowers were gone. Deadpool was finally human again, fully immortal. He could finally die. Except that now that he could actually die, he felt more alive than ever and didn't want to die anymore. He wanted to live. He wanted to experience the forgotten thrill of life and death situation, so he quickly found himself in yet another life and death situation when some of the people he screwed over in the past came to kill Deadpool. And there was a lot of people he screwed over in the past that wanted to kill him, but even though he was now mortal, Deadpool still managed to kill them all. But the last enemy seeking revenge and coming after Deadpool, that enemy turned out to be literally unkillable. It was Evil Deadpool, who lived once more and explained to OG Deadpool that the serum was not permanent. Evil Deadpool's healing factor had eventually returned, and so would Deadpool's. He was not healed. He was still ever healing, still immortal, and then Evil Deadpool shot OG Deadpool in the head. So Deadpool healed back to life and back to searching for a way to die, to be with his beloved Lady Death. It was. But it turns out that Deadpool's healing factor was not the only problem. It turns out that there was another problem, a powerful man that was very, very jealous of Deadpool and Death's special relationship, a man who himself was in love with Death. And that man was not even a man at all. He was an eternal deviant titan who went by the name of Thanos. Yes, the all-powerful Thanos was so jealous of Deadpool and hated him so much that he actually had cursed him to never be able to die so that he could never be with death. So healing factor or no healing factor, as long as Thanos' curse was on Deadpool, Deadpool would live forever. Eventually, Deadpool found out about Thanos' jealousy and went to talk to Death about it, but when he went to look for her, Death had gone missing. In fact, Death had gone missing for so long that no one on Earth was really dying anymore. Everyone was now kind of immortal since there was no one to claim their souls. So having learned about Thanos' jealousy, Deadpool blamed Thanos of somehow being responsible for Death's disappearance, and so he was like,
Let's dance. And by dance, I mean let's try to kill each other.
So the two superpowered beings had a fight as old as time itself. They fought over a woman, but it wasn't really much of a fight. Thanos just rescinded the curse and killed Deadpool with ease. I mean, it's still Thanos we're talking about here. There's levels to this. But that meant that after all this time, after all these failed attempts, Deadpool was actually dead. Finally, he had accomplished the seemingly impossible. Finally, his dreams had come true. Except Death was, of course, missing. So Deadpool was not with her at all. Yeah, the irony of finally dying after so long to be with the one person you longed for, and now she's not there. Also, Thanos got kind of anxious because he realized that he had just sent Deadpool to the one place he didn't want him to be at in the first place, that he sent him to the realm of death, and who knows when she might return to actually be with Deadpool. So Thanos decided it would be better to bring Deadpool back to life, and when he came back to life, Deadpool was like,
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
And thanks to being dead for a minute, Detective Deadpool picked up some clues, and he was now the lead investigator in the case of Death's disappearance. So Team in Love with Death, Team Deadpool and Thanos, went on a little adventure, a little unlikely team-up of the evil all-powerful Titan and the Merc with a Mouth. I need to see that movie. I need that to be Deadpool 4, kind of. They really had their own little detective thing going on and eventually found out that Death was kidnapped. Kidnapped by Eternity, who kept Death in her realm. You know, good old beef between all-powerful concepts, the usual. And Simp Thanos was mad angry at Eternity for daring to touch a hair on Death's head. Thanos was all like,
I am emotional about the fact that someone laid their hands on my wife. My wife!
Note that Death wasn't his wife, but Thanos' simp level was way over 9,000. So Thanos went super mad Titan mode and attacked Eternity, but as he clashed with Eternity, Detective Deadpool found out that all of this, it was all Death's plan all along. She started the beef with Eternity. She wanted to be kidnapped, let herself be kidnapped so that Thanos, who Death knew was madly in love with her, would avenge her and kill Eternity and thus end Eternity, which was Death's goal all along because it would mean the end of reality itself. Yeah, it's abstract, it's comic book stuff. The end of reality, though, was too much even for a stone-cold killer like Deadpool, and so he used his charm to roll a 20 on persuasion, and he convinced Death to abandon her insane plans, convinced her that reality, that life, isn't all that bad. So in the end, Deadpool, the guy who had been suffering and longing to escape reality for another realm, the guy who wanted nothing more than to end his life and be with Death, Deadpool now found himself pleading to Death to please let reality go on, to give life another chance. Deadpool ended up being the one attempting to save the world.
Hey, look at us.
Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought?
Not me.
And Deadpool's full circle moment paid off. Death had enough love left for Deadpool that she listened to him. He managed to get her to call off her mad attack dog Thanos, and they all ended up going home. Maybe getting shawarma on the way home, or kebab or something, at the end of yet another day in Deadpool's life. At the end of the day that Deadpool saved reality itself. And I can't really go anywhere from here. Like, how do you top Deadpool saving reality itself? What you should know is that all of this is a fraction of all of Deadpool's stories, a fraction of a fraction. I tried to find the one red thread in all of Deadpool's storylines and simplified it all so that you have one coherent storyline to watch to give you a whole biography of Deadpool's life. And I usually do history and mythology, but I'm so hyped for Deadpool 3 that I wanted to do this special video. And if you want me to do the same for other fictional characters, then let me know in the comments and let me know which ones. And also, you know, do the whole subscribe and like thing, because it really helps me out. And it means you won't miss my next video. And thank you for watching, because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that.